Who am I is a big loaded question. I think as we go through this journey of who am I think I still haven't decided who I am yet. I think I'm still on this journey of life and exploring and trying to find the next big thing. So, for the people that don't know me and are tuning in and the first time they've heard about me, I am a professor of marketing and entrepreneurship at Douglas College, as well as some other institutions I moonlight at. Prior to my joining the institution at Douglas College and teaching, I was a self-made person. I guess that would be the best way to sort of say it. I'm out there exploring and trying to find new opportunities and trying to find where to take myself and where I can best fit into this world. I'm not the typical individual that fits very well into the organizational structure because I like to go and explore and I like to try new things. Now, I did earlier on in my career start off and did do those elements of working with organizations such as the Four Seasons Hotel and Forzani Group and a variety of different other organizations, even the Orca Bay, the Vancouver Canucks. I worked with them for a long time too, and I worked in different elements along my way, but I've always had the inclination towards building my own thing. It started off when I was in university, did the typical student thing of going and starting your own painting company, and that led me to do other things. And I started to constantly always wanted to explore and find new things out there. So I am the typical element of wanting to try new things and always wanting to explore. And so hopefully as we go through our journey today, I'm going to wholly share some of the things that I've done over my time period and how I can help you and your business out there think about some things, maybe possibly around the world of podcasting, because that's one thing that's definitely been very new to me, and I've been exploring that area. Yadi, I don't know if that helps.
Yes, yes, that was fantastic. That was just supposed to be a really quick segue
Oh, okay.
into your storytelling.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, just feel free to um, maybe you could introduce us a little bit about your podcast.
Yeah, definitely. So so let me tell you how I ended up with the podcast. How about that first? So when I first started with the so I did a podcast, and the first one I did was called Innovation Fuel, and this was during actually the COVID era, during our element when we were locked up. One of the things I was exploring back then in that early institution, I did this at an institution called University Canada West, which is downtown Vancouver. Here, I was thinking about one of the challenges I found in institutions coming into teaching is I was finding these case studies and these big Harvard Business Review case studies. I'm looking at these business case studies and I'm looking at my student, I'm going, hold on a minute. GDP in Canada, 98% of GDP in Canada is small, medium-sized businesses. And yet all these case studies are talking about billionaire company this, billionaire company this, billionaire company this. I'm like, how are these students actually getting real-time knowledge? How are they getting real-time case studies? How are they getting to know what the small business is doing around the corner or down in downtown Vancouver? How do they know about some of the challenges they're facing? Because they're definitely not facing the same challenges that Goliath's facing. They're facing more challenges around the David element and the David and so the idea behind the Innovation Field podcast started out with going into and building these online interviews with local businesses and local partner businesses out there and trying to find out about their stories, finding out some about their successes, finding out some of their challenges, and then bringing that back into the classroom so the students can engage with it. It started off with me just doing it by myself, and then I brought in a partner. And we started off very early on we thought we knew what we were doing there, but we really didn't. And it was just a more of an exploratory element of just what was working and what was not. And we started off even with way back then, started scripting. And it was like, wow, did this work? No, it didn't. It didn't work. We didn't get into that natural conversation. We couldn't hear the story of coming back and forth. So we got rid of scripting and we got rid of some other things. We tried different technologies and eventually something caught hold. We got into an element of the storytelling really took hold. Just like in the world of social media and the world out there, people like to listen to stories, and the stories just kind kind of resonated with people. And then we started to see this element of going into the classroom. Then we saw students actually working with these clients. They were telling their story. They were going into these classrooms and they were sharing and they were sharing with the students and integrating with the students. And the students were going out and helping them with the challenges they were facing. And they were actually starting to activate that learning. So it started to turn out to be a very successful element, and we continue to build off that element. What it then would once the Innovation Fuel podcast kind of took off, and it started to it started to reach other audiences. It went beyond the student element, and it actually went out into the business community, and then it went globally. And so far we have, I think it was 182,000 listeners across the globe that listen to that podcast. And it's all about small, medium-sized businesses, mostly community-based businesses, and sharing some of the problems, sharing some of the successes they had and the challenges. We've had big names on there, like we've had the founder of Lululemon 5 on there, which became a unicorn. Like we've had many different individuals that had come on to that show that had some that small, medium-sized business, and then it became a juggernaut. So again, I think probably the storytelling and the resonation of these storytellers and people learning from those elements was really the turning point, which led me to launch in that element another live event, which I called If Ignite. And the idea behind If Ignite was to bring all these panelists in, and then we would then tell a little bit more of a story around something, have them interview with each other. And what the idea is to get the students to ignite their idea, to ignite their business idea, to get them going. And that was the element of that element, starting that. And that has led me to do other podcasts and other podcasts. Now I'm doing a podcast now for Douglas College, and I just launched recently more, and it's called Marketing Corner Talks. And it's all about talking to businesses about their marketing and some of the successes and challenges they're facing in marketing and bringing it back into the classroom for students to wrestle with. Note that.
Thank you so much. That's really, really interesting, Dave. Um, would you mind telling us a little bit about how, I guess, like the back end of starting a podcast? What does that look like?
Well, let's take you on that journey. You need one of these things. Whoop, 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 whoop. That started off that journey is okay. First, right off the bat, how do we even actually approach this? What platform should we use? What tools should we have that's going to capture our sound and that element? So, at the starting, we'll go back to Innovation Fuel, the very starting Innovation Fuel. We didn't even know. We thought, okay, well, we started off doing it on Zoom, and the quality was good enough, but it wasn't getting the two separate voices and elements. So then we started to, I think we ended up back then on Squadcast or Cast, something like that, and we started to try out that system in order to get the two mics. So we had two hosts in the show. And we had to go find the proper equipment for the show. So meaning we went out at that time, I think we used Yeti mics that we had found. We did some market research on these things. I paid for these out of my own pocket, by the way, what the institution didn't pay for. The institution didn't even look at this as an opportunity. I had to prove this to the institution before it became something. So I had to go out and we had to spend out of our own pocket to try and prove that this was something that could get going. And at the beginning, I think we bought four Yeti mics, and we had one for each host. And then we thought, okay, well, we'll take the Yeti mic and we'll ship it around to guests, and then we'll pick it up afterwards. Well, that was hard because Canada Post lost the damn thing. So so that became a challenge. We're like, well, that's not going to work very well. We can't be losing equipment because that's not going to be a good positive ROI on our business model as we're trying to launch this. So again, once we did that, we're like, oh, that doesn't work. We got to find a different way to capture the sound and quality. And it was a lot of trying out different platforms. And even to the point where I think we ended up on Riverside FM now. But we were way back when we were trying out all these different things. The other challenge we had was learning how to edit it. How do you edit this information? How do you actually edit? And then how do you put music to it? How do you make it engaging? That was always that element of trying to figure it out. So leveraging people around us and trying to figure out who can help us with this to get this going, that going. and eventually got something that really worked. And I said, as I said, guys, the first few were like, rah, and like listen to your voice, and you're like, oh my God, is that me? I can't believe that's me. Oh, that's terrible. Oh God, shut that thing off. And so it took a while before that element got caught hold. But eventually, then it started like, oh my God, that actually sounds pretty good. And then and then we started to find our rhythm and our rhythm and our rhythm and rhythm. And then from the rhythm, it's just really naturally people started to spread word. Now we actually like I think what was the on the Innovation Fuel podcast. I think we have who was it? Like we've been asked by the what was it the oh my God, I gotta remember. The Paddington Bear, the movie Paddington Bear. Well, the actual creator of Paddington Bear asked to be on our Innovation Fuel podcast. And so we started to see people coming in. Now we have a president of, I think, some real estate company, like large real estate company. I don't know what is coming, wants to be on the show. So now we got this synergy of people that want to be on the show, which on the other side is starting to draw new audiences in. And so we're telling a unique story that seems to be resonant. People want to get that story out there. They want to tell their story and they want to tell it in different ways. And I think it's always we've seen things through video footage and doing content through video, but it's this natural conversation. We love this conversation and we love having conversation and to be able to, and so we're starting to see new audiences that are coming in. First, it started with students, then it kind of resonated with businesses in the community, and then it started just to spread around, and we're seeing more and more. Now, Innovation Fuel is always really focused on community and focused on Canada and delivering those stories. Hey, who knows where it'll go next? Maybe we'll go somewhere else, but right now that one's in that element. Um, and then again, the same thing with Marketing Corner Talks. Like actually, Marketing Corner Talks and Winnie here, she was on Marketing Corner Talks with me, and we just did it on Zoom, and we just said, hey, look, I'm going to put this in Zoom, and I'm going to try and put this in front of students and try to get them engaged in what's happening around their community. And now we're at that next stage. We're going to do the same thing I did with Innovation Fuel. We're going to bring it out to a main audience. We're going to get because there's so much value that goes through these elements, not only value to the students but value to those storytellings for other SMEs, small, medium-sized businesses are out there. Maybe they're wrestling with some of the same challenges and they can hear someone else's success story. Hey, it's possible. You can get there. We'll help you get there. Just, listening into these things and networking and talking with individuals helps you think differently. Maybe opens it up. Maybe it spurs an idea or seeds an idea that takes off.
And Dave, one question. And what value
Yeah.
do you see in a podcast? I assume that your podcasts are purely like voice recorded, not necessarily camera, right, with a camera. So what value do you see in a podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcast versus YouTube?
Yeah, so again, we're getting a lot of people that listen because again, guys, we have people that are going and they're commuting from to and from. They're in their cars, they're driving. Nobody really there's the amount of people listening to radio has it's more about it's just like you're streaming. It's on demand. I want to listen to what I want to listen to on when I want to listen to it. And so we've put our podcasts on all the different platforms. We haven't done video yet, and we will probably end up doing video in the near future. But we've had so much success with just having that conversation and people listening that we haven't felt the need to go to the video yet. Nobody wants to see me yet. They don't want to see my face yet. And I'm not ready to be famous yet. No, just kidding. But yeah, so again, video is the next evolution. I think we're going to have to play with some of these spaces because one of the things is also we like things. We are attracted to things. We're attracted to seeing things. And if I take my marketing hat on and my marketing professor hat on, I'm going to say, people are drawn to things that are entertaining and of value. And so, yes, we can entertain and value in the car because there's no other alternative to do that. But if there is no other alternative, then we're competing against that element. So how do we not compete against that element? And how do we start to make ourselves more accessible in the ways that people want? And one of the things we can talk about, guys, and you can talk about content and marketing and social media and all these things. It's all about entertainment. How do I entertain you? Because you're coming to me for something, yes, but it also needs to be entertaining. And it can't be boring and dull. It has to be something that engages me and creates value for me.
And Dave, well, I've been hearing, of course, your intrapreneurial journey because you've been intrapreneuring inside Douglas and UCW, etc. But if we rewind back into your career, and how did your career start to evolve into the point that where you started to look at other things, like innovating in your own life, like doing podcasts and doing other things, side hustles. Can you tell us a bit about your story?
So again, just Carlos, going back, I had done the traditional work thing, but I always realized in the traditional, I'll even go back to my early stages. First, right off the bat, I was how do you say it? I couldn't sit still as a kid. I needed to do things. I think I had three paper routes when I was a kid. I just needed to be busy. I needed to be doing things. I liked making money. I liked thinking differently. And so I think I was doing paper route. I was washing cars at the car dealership. What was I haven't got myself a job, actually a union job at the rec center. And I was coaching kids how to play. I think it was taking them on bike rides across North Vancouver and some other places. So I was always thinking differently about things. And my life always was that. Even when I went to work for, the example, the Four Seasons Hotel, the first thing as the Four Seasons Hotel was a great place to work, great people, great hospitality element. But I was always thinking about how can I do something different here? One of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to go do my own, I wanted to go and get my degree. And money wasn't a big thing in my parents never really had money. So I had to figure out how to get my degree by myself without going into debt. So I convinced the Four Seasons Hotel based on my plan. And what I did is I built a plan of a membership program, a VIP membership program for the off season of the hotel. And I convinced them that I can be the manager and do this at the same time while you pay me to go to school. And I went to school. I went 4 days a week to school. And this is unheard of in hotel industry because in hotel, when you're a manager, you're on call. You gotta be fat. So I found a way to be different. I found a way to create value for that one side while creating value for myself. So I was always constantly thinking about these things. It's always, even when I went into other things, I went to even work in the sporting industry. I was always drawn towards launching new. I wanted to go and open the new stores. I wanted to be part of the new element. But once it got into monotonous and routine, I needed to depart from that element. Um, Along the way through my degree, I actually got really bitten by anybody out there loves wine. I loved wine. I became infatuated by this wine, and I started to go and explore. And this is actually what led me into the online world. I actually started writing wine blogging way back years ago before all this content wheel. I was writing all about wine and wine journeys and my wine journey and what it was about. And that led me down the pathway to starting a online wine website. And that led me to other things along the way because again, it was just a passion. I went and actually got my sommelier designation. So I became so fascinated with this thing that I needed to know more and more and more. And by the way, I'm actually back involved in it again. I've got another venture I'm working on right now. I came back, it's circling back to me. I'm never good, never stop, guys. I'm always looking for those new opportunities. So back to Carlos' question, but again, going on that journey and again, launching that. Now, the wine thing, it was hard to sell wine online. Who's going to buy wine when you live in British Columbia with the BC Liquor Board and these things and all these challenges and restrictions and limitations? Oh, well, so I started to pivot into other things. I ended up working and went into the wellness business and started doing vitamins and supplements and protein powders and all this element. And I went into pet products. I went into pet supplements. I went into different things and I started launching all these different things. And through those journeys was always that constant element of looking for how do I move this forward? How do I learn how this works? Learning how Google algorithm worked. Holy crow. Back then, guys, we didn't have the press the easy button. You had to figure it out and you had to gamify it. We had to build link farms. We had to go and actually get different domain names and find different ways to drive these things. And it was all about like, oh my God, this is exciting. Everything was new every day. It was trying to drive new ideas. How do I get more customers to come here to get this? How do I get more? I even got into I started going out and networking, and I can tell you one story. One of the brands that I had on this wellness site and when I started was actually I was about to go on the Dragon's Den. And I'm like, oh, perfect. Here we go. So I built it up. I put everything in. It was a great way to grab awareness, to drive traffic to our website, and it exploded. And so it was just the right time, the right opportunity. And even in that element, I was the first in that element to get into the world of content. I brought a doctor in. I brought a naturopathic doctor in. It's like I brought a medical doctor, a naturopathic doctor, and I started bringing content and building professionals to build the trust element before even Google was saying EAT. And EAT, guys, if you don't know what EAT is, Google looks for expertise, authority, and trust. And now they want experience. So, but back then that wasn't resonating. It was more about gaming the algorithm and that element. So that launched that into that, my friend. And I started doing that. And I continued to look for new things, always looking for a side hustle off this side. At one point, I even went into the, what was it? It was, what was it? I'm trying to think of it. It was like, oh my God, what was it? It was like respite care for elderly people. I actually found a model where I could go and hang out and have coffee with older people that had dementia and Alzheimer's. I go hang out with them, spend the day with them, hang out, and I'd spend a day with multiple. And it started to turn into a little bit of business model. So I did that for a little while too. So again, it's exploring and finding different ideas and see which one actually grabs and which one holds and which one actually makes you feel good. Because if you're not enjoying it and you're not have fun, then there's no point. You got to have fun. You got to enjoy it. There's got to be some kind of thing that's pulling you to it because and when you will probably tell you, anybody that tells you, when you're in your own thing, doing your own thing, it's a 24/7 thing. It does not stop. It does not shut up. I'm sleeping. I'm dreaming about it. Okay. When I get up the next morning, I'm on to, okay, what's next? How do we keep moving this forward? How do we keep shifting the dial? What can we spin into something else? So I don't know, Carlos. I don't know if I'm answering. You gotta, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm probably doing a lot of this.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. Actually. And right now, what are your current businesses, right? Right now you're a teacher, and what are your current businesses?
Yeah. So what I've been doing, so the last little bit is mostly I've been shifting into the educational world and doing a lot of things around the educational world I'll talk to you about. But I am back in the wine business, my friend. I am working with a private winery. I'm not going to let you in on a secret, but I am working with a private winery that's got, I think we're onto a disruptor, and I can't tell you yet what the disruptor is, but I am working on a disruptor on the side, trying to figure another way, because you know something? One of the problems is wine is way too expensive. It's getting out of control. The money that's going out the door to taxation is getting way too expensive. But I think I might have uncovered a way to get it and get good quality wine for effective prices. And I'm working on that model. I'm going to get back to you on that one, Carlos. But again,
let me know. Please, let me know.
I don't want to give it away too much yet because it's too good. It needs to be, just want to make sure that we have all the pieces in place before we get there. But, when it comes back to education, and then the other thing, my friend, let me take you back to, when I stumbled, actually, and this is really good for listeners out there. I never expected to be a teacher. Never thought about this direction at all. Never even crossed my mind until one person that I knew that sat on the board and actually at University of Canada West. And she reached out to me and said, hey, look, we need someone that with your expertise that knows the digital and e-commerce thing that can actually come and teach these MBA students. I'm like, well, I've never taught before. I don't even know where to start. What would I do? I'm like, but he says, well, are you open to having a conversation? I'm like, of course anything. This is one thing that I've learned in life. If someone presents something to you, you have to go explore. You have to go explore it. You have to give it a chance because you just never know what it's going to turn into. And so I took that chance. I went and I sat down with the VPA of that institution, and instantly I'm like, yeah, I'll give this a shot. I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no teaching background. I know this stuff. And so you're going to give me a chance and I will take it. I'll take it. So I even remember I jumped into a class of 20 bright-eyed MBA students, not undergrad students. I can bullshit these guys. Excuse my language. I hope I didn't say that. I couldn't bullshit these guys. So I had to figure out something. So I was in that classroom and it just all clicked. It just clicked. I just like, wow, this is fun telling the stories and how I overcame these stories and then lining into them and then putting them on the same journey. And then I started playing with things. I started partnering with a good friend, Shopify. You guys know Shopify. I connected with Shopify and hey, Shopify, let's go. Let's get these guys going. Let's put some tools in front of these guys and see how they develop them. And by the way, I got to tell you a story off that one. My first ever student built a very successful website. It was a Nigerian food delivery service. He then took that into a beverage company. He then took that into a restaurant chain. So it's like these things can happen if you put them in the right places. And but again, that was my first story. I never thought that.
That was included.
Yeah, but when I was there, Carlos, that led me down to the new venture, meaning something wasn't right. It's not right, meaning that I can't follow a textbook. I can't follow this. I need to be able to give you real materials and things that are actually going to give you experience that will help you be successful in life. And what I wanted to do was, and I started exploring there, and that's when I started working on building, improving on that course offering. But then I started to look at, ooh, there's a lot of people here that want to build their own business. So I started working on on what UCW has now is called, and I built for them is the Next Generation Hub, which is a full innovation hub that allows students to not only interact with businesses, and that's where the Innovation Fuel podcast and all those things came together, but also the opportunity to launch your own business. And then I brought in an internship program there. And then I brought in all these different new courses. I helped restructure, rebuild the whole MBA there. And that was just like, that was the journey there. But then I'm doing the same thing at Douglas now. I'm doing the same thing at Douglas and bringing that knowledge to Douglas. I'm passionate about changing the system. I think my next evolution, my next goal with the wine and thing on the side is to do this.
Very cool. And Dave, for example, we have several immigrants, aspiring
Yeah.
entrepreneurs that are wanting to do business here. What would you suggest anyone wanting to start being an immigrant,
Yeah.
considering that they are learning about the Canadian market, on ways to start, on ways to
Yeah.
learn more?
Well, I think that's the biggest challenge, Carlos. I think there's a lot of great individuals, and I've had some success with individuals coming in and helping them and mentoring and giving them those tools. But is connecting to the right individuals, is mentoring the right individuals to get started on something. You got the two things they have to get over is like, well, first, how do I even start a business in BC and Canada? Like what processes do I need to follow in order to get there? Now, the way that and actually, by the way, I was talking to Carlos about this before, but I've launched a new program at Douglas College, and it's at Douglas College. It's called New Ventures Marketing, and it's all about helping individuals that want to get their own business idea going. And I think what we need to do is we need to be able to start getting into that process, and you need to be able to learn the process of starting something. And process of starting something is really the first thing is to do is that, hey, you see a problem out there and you see, oh my God, that does not work. The way the solutions that are matching that problem just don't work. There's something broken there. And that's just the journey where it starts. It needs to start with the understanding that, hey, there is a problem there, and there is, there could be some solutions there. But it's again taking that journey and moving through, how do I solve this problem? How do I build towards this problem? And yeah, guys, you have to get going. You have to step out of your comfort zone. And I talk about this in with my students. There's the first phase of designing an idea. And the first phase of designing an idea is to figure out if the problem is painful enough that people need a solution for it. And that's the desirability of it. Like, is it desirable enough that there's enough pain here that there might be some individuals that I might be able to help solve their problem with this element and taking them on that journey. And then the other thing to look at is that viable? Can I actually deliver that solution to this whatever small group of what we call evangelists or early starters, whatever elements that are willing to take the risk to take on your solution? And then you got to figure out if it's feasible. Like, is it feasible? Is it feasible to put it all together and actually connect this? And this is where we get to this element of working the side hustle off your desk. Work your day job, do your school element, work this side hustle off your desk, do the testing on it. It's all about testing, 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 testing. You got to find, and this whole thing about, like, one of the things that drives me insane about some entrepreneurs is they just think, I have this idea, I have this solution, I'm solution first, and I'm going. And they just keep going with the solution when they really are not asking the really critical questions. They're not getting out and talking to the customers. Hey, what do you think of this? Does this work? And I think what Carlos, where the element has to happen is that we need supportive places like what you guys are doing, what you guys are creating for people to come and have a mentor, have someone to give them some guidance. How do they get to people like me that help mentor them, give them the guidance and the support, show them the tools how to start and build an idea, and then connect them to the right people to help mentor them? Because I think one of the biggest things, guys, and out there, you can't do it on by yourself. There is no such thing as doing it by yourself. We're in a world of collaboration. Everything I've done has not all been me. It has been wonderful people that I've able to connect with and had a very similar passion to do something. Going back to the wellness business, going back to, anything in my past and the elements of those ideas, even into this education element, there's always individuals around that are willing to lend a hand, and all you have to do is ask. And the asking element. And again, it's all about testing viability ideas. You got to get to a first minimal viable product. You got to get that first thing in someone's hand and say, is this what you're looking for? And again, it's nothing always works, guys. I have had multiple failures, don't like lots, but failure is the opportunity to learn. We fail, we learn, we grow. You got to don't be afraid to take that step forward. You got to move forward. Even taking one step forward. The problem in life, I think, out there, and I'm thinking the biggest problem is people's failure to execute. Have great ideas, but just don't know how to, or not, like, find it hard to move it to the next level. And I think what you need to do is scale it back. Scale it back and say, I know that's big and grand, but what do I need to do tomorrow to ignite this? What do I need to do tomorrow? Do I need to just get up, and do I need to just go take this and put it here? If that helps you just grow that one little bit, that's the starting point. Every little bit is a little goal. Take a little goal, little goal. I don't know, Carlos, I'm answering your question.
Yes, perfectly. And I think you're also going into a new topic as mindset, for example.
Yeah.
What's the mindset that a new entrepreneur needs to have in order to achieve getting or reaching that goal, that main goal?
Yeah, and I think, when it comes to mindset, guys, hey, risk is inevitable. You gotta be able to say, okay, I gotta be willing to take some risk. Like everything I've done in my life, it has required some risk elements. So I need to be able to say, okay, I'm gonna need to take a chance. I think there's enough information that says, yes, this is a go, and I need to take a chance. And it's also the thing of just doing, meaning get up and do. Hey, something, going and networking people, it's not so comfortable for everybody out there, but you have to do it. You have to get past your comfort. And all of you everybody is capable of being an entrepreneur. Everybody's capable of doing it. You just have to change the mindset and say, hey, look, something? I really, and this is where passion comes in. If you have passion for something, you're more likely to go talk to someone about it. You're more likely to go into that networking event and ask that question, because it's going to help you get to where you need to get to. So it's that element of pushing yourself outside that comfort zone, pushing yourself, and you always have to think there is always going to be a level of risk. And so, thinking about the level of risk and how much risk you're willing to take. Okay, because it doesn't have to be, you're not taking huge risks if you're slowly building it off the side of your desk. Because some of us today will do a little side hustle. We'll do a little side hustle. We'll do a little side hustle until we see some positive things coming from. Oh, there's more revenue coming in. Oh, there's more and more revenue coming in. Uh-oh, now there's more revenue than I make in my job. I think maybe it's about time I start moving and pivoting. Okay, you might do that earlier, which might make your business more successful sooner. So it's about the level of risk and the mindset of being able to ask for help and get out of the building, get talking with people, talk to your customers. Don't be afraid to talk to people, because if you don't talk to them, then you'll never know what to create. And you'll create the wrong thing. And then you'll go down the pathway of what we call the innovation bias. The innovation bias is that I have a solution, I'm going to put it anywhere. I'm just squeezing it and round, what is it? Square peg in a round hole. I'll just keep pushing it in, I'll keep pushing it in and keep pushing it in. But you're never going to get market adoption. Market adoption is only going to start happening when you start to realize little by little, what can I do? What's the problem? What's the solution? How can I build on it? I can even take it into it. Airbnb, guys, never started with this where it is today. It started with couch surfing, and it's not couch surfing anymore. It's experiences. It's all about experiences, and it's continued to be about experiences. Listening to what the one of the co-founders said the other day, they built a Barbie house for people to go stay in. They built one of those Up from the movie Up, floating house for people to go stay in, because they've learned over the period of time. Their first minimal viable product was like, hey, I just need a place to stay because I want to go to a conference. It was surfing, it was a space. That's the hotel model. Space is the hotel model. So we need to diversify ourselves to make ourselves stand out in those markets so more and more people choose our product. So again, you don't know what's right until you start doing and asking the right questions.
And how about networking? Networking is a vital way.
As I said, Carlos, extremely vital, because networking is where you meet your mentors. Networking is where you meet your contacts. Networking is going to connect you maybe to the right partner. Hey, you know something? I go back to the wellness business. Hey, if I didn't go and network and meet, I wouldn't know what the next product is going to be. I would go to the Canadian health food shows, and I would go talk to all the suppliers, and I was trying to find what was new and next and thriving, because that would help us figure out how to hit the next market with the next offering and be on the market when that new offering, or be driving that new offering. So again, when it comes to individuals, you need to get out there. You need to find individuals that you can help mentor you. You need to find new customers, and you need to go out there and find even some people, stakeholders that might help grow your business. How are you going to do that? You need to go out and talk to them. You need to go out and you need to chat with them. Yeah.
And where can people find people? What are ways that yeah.
My friend, everywhere. They're everywhere. It's just about hey, how many meetup groups do you know? Like, like go on and you say, I want to find a meetup group for this. Okay, there we go. There's a meetup group. Well, this is about going there. Now, it might turn out to be shit, but whatever. Well, at least you went and you showed up. And by the way, when you do show up, usually the other person's going, yeah, this is shit. Oh, hey, we know, let's talk. And all of a sudden you got someone else there. But again, it's like it's going to these things, going to meetups, getting involved in different, like Chamber of Commerce. Holy crap. I went to the Chamber of Commerce the other day for the mayor's address. I was out there chatting with all these new people, and I was bringing new business into Douglas College for students to interact with. Again, it's about how do they know what you're doing if you're not going out and telling your story? You got to find new channels to go out and tell your story. Yes, you can tell your story on social media, but it's harder to tell your story on social media. It's not as easy as it used to be to tell your story in those places. You've got to build that brand in order to be able to express that story. So why not go and have physical conversations? Have physical conversations with people, start really getting the momentum going. And that's where you go. Go to Chamber of Commerce, go to meetups, go to join associations. BCMA is having a vision conference. Like you got to find things where it's relevant to you, but really be purposeful. Think about value creation. One of the things that I really is the biggest thing, and a lot of people need to think about, is that what value do I offer the world, or what value do I need back? Because in a networking event is like value exchange is what's going to happen. I have value that I can offer in exchange for value coming back to me. So I need to understand that, and I need to really and refine. And I have my students working on this, Carlos. So I'm going to the 3-minute elevator pitch. Like, know what you're about, know what you want to get from each relationship, and be very specific in delivering that story in the right way that resonates with the individual that you want to target.
I think we can start with the Q&A, because I think I'm asking too much questions.
Oh, there's more questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Does anyone in the audience have any questions?
Rapid fire, let's go.
Yeah, I have a question. So,
Okay.
all of these different services that you're providing, including podcast, I'm guessing that's part of the omni-channel strategy.
Okay, so when you talk about omni-channel strategy, I could take you right. Let me take you back to my wellness business. Omni-channel strategy. Okay, so we talk about omni-channel strategy. Omni-channel strategy is connecting people on multiple places and connecting with the same person interactive. There's multi-channel and omni-channel. Omni-channel is where, hey, I have an e-commerce store, but I also have a storefront. And I also have another place where I can pick up. So again, it's how do you create that relationship? And a really good example of omni-channel, and I will touch on this real quickly, omni-channel. Canadian Tire is doing a really good job of omni-channel right now. If you go onto their website, you can pull up my phone and go on their website and look up, oh, I want a soccer ball. Soccer ball. Local store near me has 5 units. Walk to that store. I need to find in the store. The mobile device will help you. It says it's on this shelf, on this element, this level. This is how you get to it. Then it says in there, oh, there's five. Yep, there's 5 soccer balls. I grab 5 soccer balls. I'll walk out. I go check the online on it. There's zero inventory. That's the omni-channel experience. It's the whole experience of creating that whole relationship with it. So in the early days of the wellness business, actually, I partnered with a chain of pharmacies and opened up. This is way back, guys, at the very beginning of this journey. This is where you're thinking outside the box. You got to be different because there's got other people going to enter your market. The other competitors going to. How are you going to make yourself different? So what we did is we partnered with a chain of pharmacies, and what we did is we did like a pop-up store in each pharmacy with the brand and the most popular products. And what we did is we made that as a direct route for people to pick up their packages. Instead of us sending it by Canada Post, we had a driver drive it to that pharmacy and they pick it up at that pharmacy. This is before even Jeff Bezos did it. So again, so like thinking about outside the box about how do we create that omni-channel experience of servicing and serving customers. Omni-channel in school, yeah, omni-channel in school, we have the classroom. What else can we do to create that experience and make sure that it's interconnecting with developing the individual? Yeah, we can do the podcast. We can create innovative spaces for them to work in. We could do these things around those elements of exposing them to different things. But when we think about omni-channel in the world of business and the world of marketing, it's about how do we connect the whole full experience where an individual comes to your website, they click on something, they say, oh, that they have that inventory. Oh, and they go to the store and it's there. How many times have you been there and you go there and it's like, no, we don't have that. We never had that product here. That's a poor experience. That's where we have what we call multi-channel marketing, where they're individual. Everything's standing on its individual. Omni-channel is when they're all connected together. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, cool. That makes a lot more sense to me and probably the audience. Follow-up question about the omni-channel. What
Yeah.
is the 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 biggest challenge to connecting all the stakeholders?
The biggest challenge is expense because it's not cheap. And it's not cheap. And yes, it's going to get cheaper and cheaper, guys, as more and more institutions tackled this element, tackled this problem. We've always been, e-commerce has always been separate from the bricks and mortar store. Now we're seeing this connection together. There was actually a time where, hey, do we charge more online or more in store or less in store and this element, and it's like, no, you need to synchronize these things because you're not being transparent with the customer when you have these elements. So cost of getting this thing set up, it's the infrastructure. Now you got Amazon, you got Amazon Prime. You've got these things. You got Amazon's providing warehouses. You got Amazon that's playing AWS and cloud-based computing. We have all these elements and the tools out there that we can start moving in this direction. So you don't need, you can have a website, but now you can also, and it's always best even the way that I've seen the success because I've been in the e-commerce world is that we had success because we started with a website. We had inventory management built in already. So when we went to a bricks and mortar store, it was simple to track inventory. But now you're going to think about stores out there that are the other way around, where they know their inventory system, their inventory management system. Now they're trying to go online and how to connect those two pieces. And it's finding that AP or finding that software that allows them to track the inventory across multiple channels in order to connect it so the customer can see the hoods up display of what's where and how to get access. But cost is the biggest thing. Cost is the biggest thing. We all want to go there. But that's why only the big companies are able to go there because it's they can afford to. The smaller companies, they're going to have to play a little game. And the little game is, hey, I have a storefront, I have a website. We start with one, and we can start moving in different directions to start. I had the other thing, guys. The next thing that we're seeing, big time, huge, is social commerce. So leveraging the social commerce world is a great way to create that omnichannel because more and more consumers are going through social to buy things that are of lesser value. So I say under $250, we're not that risky. We'll buy there. And that's another channel and that creates that omnichannel experience of connecting you to in someone's place where they are at. I don't know if I answered your
Okay.
question. I can keep going.
Let's see if anyone else has any questions, even though I'd love to keep asking.
Yeah, any questions at once? So I
I think
Dave,
Bellica has her
I
hand
have
up.
a, oh, but no,
No, I got a hand. I don't know if that is. No.
Dave, one question. And
Yeah.
in terms of podcasts,
Yeah.
did you started with a zero budget? Is it okay? You need to register anything, or you can just start and go?
Well, I can't say it's zero budget because you need some kind of a platform to start it. Like you could start it on Zoom, guys, and yeah, you could do it on Zoom. I think you can get Zoom up to, I think, what is it? How many? 40 minutes free? I think
Yeah.
it is. Yeah. So you could do that. Now, I don't know if actually can access the recording element of that element. So you need a little bit. And even if you went to Squadcast or any of these things, they're not that expensive, but it's an opportunity just to get going. You could record any other way, but you probably need a small little budget to get up and running just to get that software and to be able to have a place to record it. Like the mics nowadays, guys, they're like I bought a mic on
Expensive.
Amazon, like when I plugged into my phone, and it had
Yeah.
better quality than probably my Yeti did. And I was like, had a lapel mic and it was connected to the bottom of my phone. And I used it for one of the podcasts for Innovation Fuel. And I think it cost me $20. So I think you probably need $150 to get you off the ground and running and get something started. And the nurture hopefully will take you from there.
And what are the income sources that you can receive from podcasts?
Ah, really cool, guys. Cool income sources. Because guess what? Once you start building your following, guess what? You get advertisers, you get people that are interested in your audience. And so there's affiliate elements, there's advertising elements. There is, because you're getting such a large viewing element that's coming through. So that is a great revenue source as you're starting to build content and making that content purposeful. The other piece is we become influencers because we do have a large audience. So we start developing content purposely for the individual. So we can do influencers, we can do affiliate marketing, and we can do advertisement through the show. So
So
lots of different channels.
you also use, for example, you use Instagram and you start going back and forth with
Yeah.
your
Yeah, using
audience.
yeah. Well, and again, when we think about influencers, typically guys nowadays, influencers are going to be found on Instagram and TikTok. Uh, you know, and so this is where, interacting with with influencers, and that's where people are, that's what they want, and that's where they're connecting with influencers. So yes, Carlos.
Interesting. Yeah, it's because I think everyone may think what would be the best way to generate income.
Yeah,
But I suppose in podcasts it takes time, right?
it takes
To
time to nurture again, but anything takes time. Like even building your audience takes time for anything. Building your brand, bringing your brand awareness takes time. Is there a fast track to making money off it? Again, depending on how fast you get those. Now, thinking about this and thinking about influencers, and when I talk to my students about influencers, we want micro and nano influencers. We don't want big influencers. We want people that are more concentrated audience, that are more reactive to those influencers and are actually more engaged with them because they're more purposefully telling them story that they want to engage with. Like for an example, guys, on TikTok, like if you connect with a nano, we're seeing norths of almost close to 9% conversion rate from influencers, which is insane. Because if anybody knows out there, Google is very hard to convert on, and it's about 2.5% is the average conversion rate. So when you get into these elements of influencers and you're doing things like TikTok and using nano, like if you really identify your real ideal customer and who that persona is, and you know that this individual is relevant of that element, whew, like we're seeing huge conversion, guys, like product selling out. This is the evolution, the storytelling, and I'm going to give you a little tidbit. The next evolution is live shopping. It's already happening in Asia, and it's going to happen here. It's starting already. We see sales happening, but who's driving that is influencers, and their influencers are driving it through channels like TikTok and WeChat in China and to these elements. So again, it's really connecting with those really individuals and starting to tell those things and connecting with those and building those relationships. So the other thing that you guys really need to think about, I'm sorry, Scarlett, I'm going to throw another tidbit out there, is Google is changing. Google is now that they have Gemini, they're actually now moving into the world of AI. And now you need to start thinking about what the future of search is going to be, because it's not what you think it is. It's not SERP anymore. It's all about search engine. And it's going to be more like search experience. And it's going to be about, you're not going to see lines of websites anymore. It's going to be all about AI and how to narrow that down to get people to the solution, because Google's business is all about finding you the solution. And the solution hasn't worked because social media is able to get there faster. Google has to reposition itself, and it's repositioning itself. So note to the wise, build your reviews, build your reviews, build your reviews, build your reviews, build your reviews. This is your time. This is your time to change, because the algorithm is going to tack into user-generated content. Tip.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, Evie has a question here before we end up. YouTube or podcast, which is
Yeah.
more realistic for a beginner?
Sorry, say again, Carlos.
YouTube or podcast, which one is more realistic for a beginner? Easy to start and earn steadily.
Both are simple. Both are simple. Like both are so easy to start. It's just, it's just getting started. Like, where do you feel most comfortable? Some people feel more comfortable not putting their face up on something. So a podcast might feel more comfortable, meaning for their own personal element. But starting a YouTube channel or launching a podcast, it's both the same. The big question is that what value do I offer? And what is my message? What story am I going to tell? And who is going to resonate with? Because you want to find those early adopters. You want to find those early evangelists that are going to spread the word for you. Like, are you creating some value with what you're trying to offer? If you're just going to be another thing, this is the other thing that's really, can drive you crazy about social media, is that some brands go out there and they just keep throwing crap up on social media. What they're not, what we should be doing is throwing things up there to create conversation. And if it doesn't create conversation, if you're going to put some piece of content up there and it doesn't say, oh, that's going to get someone talking about something, you probably shouldn't do it, because it's just more bad content after bad content. We need to be thinking about how these tools are used, and they're used for communication. They're used for community building. And we need to start looking at, okay, if I'm going to put a YouTube video up, I need to make sure the value of what I'm going to offer is going to get engagement, because it's just going to get lost in the internet if it doesn't. We need to find those pieces. So I think, Carlos, when it comes to these things, I think you need to look at your audience and say, I would just look at my audience and say, what does my audience want? Who am I trying to tap into? What do they want? Not what I want to do. Again, remember, go back to the innovation bias. I could say, oh, I want to do a YouTube video. Well, is that really going to resonate with your audience? You need to think who your audience is and say, okay, how am I going to connect with them? What is going to get them engaged?
Thank you, Dave. Well, I think being mindful of your time, we're 2 minutes to reach our time limit. So Jari, maybe you want to wrap things up, and we can
Okay.
appreciate Dave.
Yeah. Amazing storytelling. Thank you all for joining us today for Dave's storytelling event. And thank you, Dave, for donating your time. I'm sure you had a very, very busy week out of all weeks. And just a couple of closing remarks. So on the left side, there's a QR code, and I'm sure most of us or all of us have had it, but just in case, please scan it to join our community with 950 and growing members. If you're not ready to do that, you can also find us on our website and our YouTube. We also have a LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. Everybody.
Hey,
Thank you
if
very
you want to
much,
link
Dave.
in with me, you have any questions, please link in with me. You can find me at Dave Keighron at LinkedIn. Find me there. I'm there to help. I can support lots of different things. I've got lots of tools and things. I can support you.
Appreciate it, Dave. Thank you very much.
Definitely, I will link with you, Dave. I need to learn more. Thank you so much.
Okay, please do.
Thank you, Dave.